They built cities that touched the sky. They wrote laws, traded across oceans, buried their kings with gold. Every one of them believed their world would last forever. Every one of them was wrong. Then the lights went out. Not over centuries, sometimes within a single lifetime, whole civilizations vanished, leaving silent ruins and questions we still cannot answer. These are 6 worlds that ended almost overnight. 1. The Bronze Age collapse. Around 1200 BC, an entire connected world fell apart in decades. No one knows exactly why. Around 1200 BC, the Mediterranean held a web of rich, connected empires. Egypt, the Hittites, Mycenae. They traded copper and tin across the sea. Then, within just a few decades, almost all of them fell. Egyptian records describe mysterious raiders from the sea peoples striking city after city. But we still argue why it all unraveled. Likely a mix of drought, earthquakes, broken trade, and migration crashing together at once. When the smoke cleared, the great palaces lay abandoned. Writing itself was forgotten in some lands for centuries. A connected world had shattered into a dark age, and no one fully understands how. 2. Rapa Nui, the islanders who carved the Moai. The collapse isn't the story you were told. On a remote speck in the Pacific, the Rapa Nui people carved nearly 1,000 colossal stone heads, the Moai, and dragged them for miles. To do this, a thriving, organized society had to exist here for centuries. The old story says they recklessly cut down every tree and doomed themselves. But modern research pushes back hard. The real catastrophe likely came from outside. European contact bringing disease, and brutal slave raids that gutted the population. What we know for sure is heartbreaking. A culture that moved mountains was reduced to a fraction of itself in a few generations. The giants still stand, watching an island that lost the hands that raised them. 3. The classic Maya, towering cities, a written language, centuries of power, then whole capitals abandoned to the jungle almost overnight. For centuries, the classic Maya ruled the jungle with towering pyramids, sophisticated astronomy, and a written language. Their cities held tens of thousands. Then, in the 8th and 9th centuries, one by one, the great centers fell silent. Inscriptions simply stop. Monuments go unfinished. We still debate the cause, likely a brutal mix of prolonged drought, overpopulation straining the land, and escalating warfare between rival kings tipping the whole system over. The people didn't all vanish. Millions of Maya descendants live today, but the great cities were swallowed by jungle so completely that they lay hidden for 1,000 years, kings and gods forgotten beneath the trees. 4. Cahokia, a city bigger than London, right here in North America, and then it just emptied. 1,000 years ago, near modern St. Louis, stood Cahokia, the largest city in North America. Tens of thousands lived among enormous earthen pyramids in a metropolis rivaling the great cities of Europe at the time. Then, over the 1300s, Cahokia emptied out. By around 1400 it was gone. The reasons remain genuinely unclear. Researchers point to a likely tangle of climate shifts, flooding, resource strain, and political fracture. They left no written records, so the city keeps its secrets. Today, only grassy mounds remain beside a freeway, the quiet ruins of a great civilization most people have never even heard of. 5. The Greenland Norse, a Viking colony that survived for centuries at the edge of the world and then quietly vanished into the snow. Around 1,000 years ago, Vikings led by Eric the Red sailed to Greenland and built a thriving colony. For centuries they farmed, raised churches, and shipped walrus ivory back to Europe at the very edge of the known world. Then, by the 15th century, they were simply gone. We still argue why. Likely a cruel combination of a cooling climate, the collapse of the ivory trade, deepening isolation, and a way of life that couldn't bend fast enough. No final battle, no clear catastrophe, just farms left empty and a settlement that slowly went quiet at the top of the world. Centuries later, only ruined walls in the snow remember they were ever there. 6. The Akkadian Empire, history's first true empire, erased by a drought that lasted 300 years. Over 4,300 years ago in Mesopotamia, Sargon of Akkad forged the world's first true empire, uniting the cities of the land between the rivers under a single crown. It was the template every empire after would follow. Then, around 4,200 years ago, it fell apart in just a few generations. Ancient texts speak of a curse and famine, and many scientists link the collapse to a sudden, brutal mega-drought, though the full story is still debated. The world's first empire dissolved back into separate cities, its capital lost so thoroughly that we still haven't found it. The very idea of empire survived, but the people who invented it slipped into the dust. 6 worlds, 6 endings, and one unsettling truth. Every great civilization believed it was permanent, right up until it wasn't. The ground we stand on is littered with the proof. That's your drift point. Follow, and we'll dig up another.